the third focus. Editing with Gutenberg. I don't know why we're laughing. Gutenberg has been the longest running major feature development that we've ever had. I mean, typically, we work on things for anywhere from 2 to, really the longest I can remember is maybe that spans 2 releases. It's the better part of 6 months in our previous release approach. But with Gutenberg, we've now been working on it much, much more. For those of you who don't know what Gutenberg is yet, it's basically an effort to simplify all the different things we have going on in WordPress, shortcodes, widgets, menus, and the random stuff that people put in tiny MCE into one elegant concept, which is a block, which we've demonstrated with this non-trademark copywritten Lego block there. Wait, to talk a little bit about Gutenberg, I wanted to bring up my good friend, Matias. Round of applause for Matias. Matias, alongside Johan, who started as your design pair at the beginning, and lately Tammy, along with, of course, many, many, many others, have been working diligently at Gutenberg all year. And we're going to try something that we have not done in maybe the history of State of the Words, which is a live demo.
Start by, following the Spanish vibe of the WordPress.org page redesign, I'll start by copying the piece of the beginning of the Don Quixote, the work by Cervantes, and I'm going to copy it from Google Docs, and I'm going to paste into the editor to start working a bit with this. So the first thing is that nothing should really look unfamiliar, like it's just some text on an editor. You can go through the paragraphs and the elements, but as soon as you start interacting, you'll see that you get these contextual toolbars and elements. So this allows you to, say, focus on this paragraph, and let's make it a bit bigger. Let's switch it to be center aligned. Let's select it all, apply some italics. So let's move to, if you focus one thing with, so when everything is a block, you get these little plus buttons here between blocks, so you can add other kinds of blocks. And this opens the block inserter, which is what Matt referred to as trying to simplify all the ways you can insert different kinds of content. So in this case, I want to add, and I can search here, and it shows me the things that are there. I can navigate all this with keyboard, most of it. A lot of work still remains to be done on there, but I can still access this, insert the separator. I'm going to add another one here, just for repetition. Okay. Now, the other nice thing is you can, you can access the inserter from multiple places, but you can also, and we show a little hint here when you, I don't know if it's too visible on the screen, but it says that you can use the slash command, which is writing a slash, to insert any block. So I'm going to add an image here. Let's scroll a bit. I'm going to drag an image. When you drag an image, it immediately shows, even while it's uploading, it shows you the results, so you can start continue building that. Let's add another kind of block. I went to the bottom here, and I'm going to add a cover image. Cover image is very similar to image in its current state. It allows you to select an image from the media library and then write some text, like in this case, it's to Gigante Sancho. Okay. And then we can bump it like this, and we start to get some rhythm to this little story. I'm going to add a final block here, text columns. Let me get some more text. This is a long paragraph. I like these long paragraphs. So one column, and this for the other one. Okay, so this looks a bit tight, but we can expand it a bit here. Okay, and let's add a final separator. Okay, let's close this. Oh, actually, let's add one more thing. the little drop cap, of course, and a title. So this shows kind of how you can quickly get into an interesting looking post with more variation. Basically, like, the idea is that the block is there when you need it and it disappears when you don't. It's not a trivial balance to accomplish, but I think it's getting better with each release. So if you just use the arrow keys, you can navigate through the whole post. You don't see the UI, but once you start moving, you can get these additional tools. So I'm going to move to a demo that we have prepared. So when you install Gutenberg, you get this menu item on the sidebar that has a few utilities. One is a demo. You also have feedback and documentation. If you load the demo, this is meant to be like an already put up post so that you can play with some of the settings. So here you can, if you load this in the plugin, you can just check how some of these blocks behave. This is a longer post that has more of the variety of blocks. You can check the different styles that a specific block can give you. One nice thing in this kind of long post is that we have this utility called table of contents that allow you to basically browse all your headings. If you change the headings to be like an incorrect size, incorrect in the document outline hierarchy, we also warn you about that so that we... So that should be a nice way to still let users do whatever they want, but still inform them about the best practices of what really WordPress has stood at for all these years, which is a semantic and accessible web. So I'm going to show a bit the gallery, which I really like the gallery block because I don't know if you have seen other people try to do this kind of mosaic layouts, but very often I had friends that would just create this in Photoshop and upload a single image with all the mosaic. So I think it's good that we offer something that can be, and you can play with it and just change the columns, change the width if you want 3 images, go back to single one, to like play with different layouts and see what works, while still making sure that the markup is the best we can produce and that everything remains semantic. You can also like just remove some images and play with this. I think this allows a lot of layout possibilities, and it's quite nice. Let me move back. Oh, the other thing is embeds. Now, if we go back to the inserter, like you can search here for like a YouTube or whatever, and it exposes all of the embeds that WordPress already has, but sometimes users don't know that exist. The embeds, of course, can be played directly on the post. And we also have things like buttons and little emojis that you can also increase in size. And let me show you. So this is just working with the blocks that come with WordPress, but you can also, like, sometimes you will need to write your own HTML for something. So we have a block, a custom HTML block. I'm going to add everyone's favorite HTML element. And you can keep this HTML between all your blocks and it will just work. But you can also preview it in place. So we can see our nice marker. We can also move the marker. Let me add one more. So this is a fun little tag, but you can imagine like the kind of custom HTML things that people might need in their site, and without having to switch the whole editor to the HTML mode, you can add these little snippets, which will be more powerful when we introduce the reusable blocks. But let me show you a more interesting example of a block, which is the latest posts. This is a dynamic block. It means that it's rendering posts that already exist, so I cannot edit this text. But it allows you to configure things like how many posts to show. And it does all of this in real time. You can enable the post date, switch it to a grid, and you get like a nice thing with your latest post. You can add this to whatever post page. And you can imagine all the kinds of dynamic blocks that you could have like this. So let me go here. I'm going to stop this video so that it doesn't slow things down. So this code is poetry code. So this is something that has come up a few times that we were working on reusable blocks. That's one of the reasons why I'm running this mix of branches in trunk, is so that I can show you how it actually works. So we have this code is poetry that we want to use in some other post. So we're going to convert it to a reusable block, and we're going to give it a name. And we'll save it. And now we're going to switch to a new post. Still saving. Okay, now. And here, if I go to the, let me see, save blocks, code is poetry. Okay, so you can reuse this. You can see how this could be a very convenient tool for, especially when you need, when you think that you might need a custom post type for something, but really what you just want is, I don't know, like to reuse a testimonial in some other page. Like these kind of things, it's basically a way to create blocks on the fly without having to write any code. And if you consider that we could have nesting, like I think Morten showed a blog with like an author biography, like all these kind of things, you can combine them, save them on the fly, and then just have them all here in the inserter. If you see there's a save, here I have a bunch of weird blocks, but you can just have different kinds of blocks saved that just output to the thing. So I want to show you now some integration with some code. So in the last version of Gutenberg 1.8, we added support for templates. Templates are really just a list of blocks. And I'm going, hope this is kind of readable. But this is just a register book type. It's adding a post type called books. It has the show in res because we use it with the API. And the interesting thing is this template attribute, which defines an array with different types of blocks. In this case, an image which has some attributes, a heading, and a paragraph. So if I come to my editor and I go to books and add a new book, instead of seeing a blank page, now I get an already set up thing here where so I can do something like drag an image here so I get my cover. I'm going to grab the full title because I don't want to type it. And I'm going to add a little description. So this is like very quickly I can get into the intended display that the author, the developer, the themer intended for this post, while still giving the user a very intuitive way to input that information quickly. So I think templates, and if you expand templates, right now they work with custom post type, but they can also work on the fly. You can see a lot of like interesting mixtures, especially once we add nesting. Like all of those things together, I think will give a lot of flexibility to creating these kinds of layouts. One last thing before I extend too much is, let me go to the, just a new post. So the other thing is how themes can extend certain blocks, or even general Gutenberg functionality. Like one thing that we have on the paragraph block is that you can add certain colors and just have like 80. So, but what happens if the theme wants to have a different set of colors? Like with support, we allow themes to specify in an add theme support call. You can pass an array of color values. Let me save. So if we reload, now the colors that this offers are the colors offered by the theme. It's also nice, another thing we show is if your contrast ratio fails, we warn the user that this is not very legible. And once you get into the legibility, it fades away. The other thing that themes can do, let me add some filler text here. So the other interesting thing is this looks like, and especially if I collapse this is a very white, clean layout, but your theme might be different. In this case, I am going to enable my theme to modify the editor styles. And my theme is mostly modifying, let me add heading. Heading 1 and some more text. So this is saved. Now I'm going to reload the page, and now this is applying my theme styles to the editor. So the headings change because the theme says so. I have this remains, but I can remove it. And so something like latest post, which we saw before, come with their own theme-specific styles, so it looks like the theme wants it to look like. But the functionality is the same. If I enable these things, all the functionality remains the same. Okay. Oh, one more thing is that you can, let me disable this thing. I'm going to load the demo again. You can also, since everything is a block, you can also select multiple blocks and move them all together if you need to. This also allows different transformations, to make a list out of multiple paragraphs. If you have multiple images, you can convert it into a gallery or a slideshow or things that plugins can hook into. Yeah, so that's about it. I would like to, if all the people that have contributed so far to Gutenberg, before and even through the WordCamp, if you can stand up and have a round of applause for everyone. Hand it over to Mac.